Hello everyone, my name is Mitchell Bucklew, and today I'm going to be showing you all how to get set up using remote deployment for C and C++. A little bit about me. I'm a computer science senior enrolled in the 4+1 program here at ASU. I am a former CSE 310 UGTA and currently a UGTA for CSE 471, Intro to Artificial Intelligence, which I highly recommend any of you all to take. I also have some more remote deployment content and CSE 310 review material on my channel, so feel free to check it out. So let's go ahead and talk about the issues with the C++ compiler. There are many different C++ compilers, and although they are all for C++, there are some significant differences between them. The compiler for Windows and Mac will run vastly differently than the GCC and GDB compiler on the Linux machine that will be used to grade your projects. So this is quite a concern. One program can work fine on the Windows C++ compiler, but even fail to compile on the ASU General Server. ASU also uses an enterprise compiler, and it is not available to download unless you have a big chunk of change. So today I'm going to be showing you all how to set up an IDE within the general ASU environment. Many students ask me, Mitchell, why can't I just use Sublime Text or a other text editor to program in C++? Well, you can. However, I highly recommend against it. It makes it a lot more difficult. An IDE is a programmer's most valuable tool and provides many useful features such as linting, debugging, and high customization. I'm sure after seeing the power of an IDE in this video, you will be thoroughly convinced. I'm going to be introducing you all to an enterprise suite of products made by JetBrains. Okay, so switch to my desktop and on the JetBrains website. I'm gonna go ahead and go to find your tool to see the vast array of products that JetBrains offers. You can see here they have IntelliJ, which is their Java IDE, PHP Storm for PHP, PyCharm for Python, CLine for C++, which is what we're going to be using, as well as many other valuable suites. I recommend exploring their product offering to see if there's any other tools which can be useful. I use many of these myself, but today we're going to be using CLine. CLine is an enterprise C++ IDE and provides many valuable features and will allow us to easily integrate our environment with the ASU server. Go ahead and get a 30-day trial. And although this software is paid, we can apply with our student information to get an education license. So you can either click the link in the description or go to jetbrains.com, go to Solutions in the navigation, and JetBrains for Education. Here we can click the free access to professional tools. And it'll bring us this page which will allow us to apply for an education license by submitting our student information. Usually they will give you license to all of the JetBrains products within a few days. Now, let's go ahead and get started setting up CLine. So I'm going to go ahead and continue from this point, assuming you have CLine installed. So if you don't, Go ahead and pause this video and continue once you have CLion installed and ready to go. Let's go ahead and open up and create our first project. Alright, and we can do not import settings. And then this is the first window you'll see when opening CLion. Let's go ahead and select the new project button. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and name our project. I'm going to name it our first project. And then here you can see the project directory. And then we can keep the language standard at C++ 14. And then select create. Here we can see our first project we just made. Alright, I'm going to select do not show tips. You feel free to check this out. However, for now, I'm going to go ahead and close it. This is just a little tip window to show you some interesting things the IDE can do. And if you're on Windows, you can go ahead and select exclude directories and configure automatically. And we can get that out of the way. Great. So the first change we're going to make is more of a preference. However, I think that you will enjoy it as well. So let's go ahead and go to the top left of the status bar and select File and Settings. Then from here, we're going to go to Editor, General, and then we're going to select Change Font Size with Control plus Mouse Wheel. This makes it easy to go ahead and zoom into the code, and I'm sure you all will be able to see it better now. Okay, great. Now let's set up the general.asu.edu server on our IDE. I'm going to go ahead and go to the status bar and then select Help and Find Action. This is a really useful feature in the IDE as it allows you to search the user interface for any item which you may seek. Let's go ahead and type in toolchains and hit enter. And the toolchains window in the setting menu will open up. Here we can see two toolchains which have been automatically detected on my PC by CLion. Let's go ahead and add another by hitting the plus icon and selecting remote host. Here we can select the default toolchain by clicking the up arrow, and here now you can see the first item in the list is the default and it's the remote host. Let's change the name to ASU. Now for credentials, we're going to need to add our own. So let's hit the gear icon and you'll see the SSH configurations window open. Now we can select the plus icon to add our SSH configuration. Here we will type in the general.asu.edu server as well as our ASU right username. Mine is mbucklew. Here we're going to go ahead and paste in our password and make sure the save password is checked. And we can go ahead and hit test connection. And hopefully, if the information is correct, we'll see that it has successfully connected. And we can hit OK. Now we're done with this, we can hit OK again. Great, and if everything's working alright, we can see the CMake automatically detected as well as the debugger. And we can go ahead and ignore this warning. And it's okay if the make and compilers are not automatically detected. And if you wait here a second, you will see they eventually will be. However, if it's just hold up here, that's completely fine, and we can go ahead and select OK. Now we have successfully configured the general.asu.edu server on our IDE. However, you'll probably notice an error on the bottom portion of the IDE. It says CMake 3.17 or higher is required. You are running 2.8.12. All we need to do to fix this problem is open the CMake list.txt in the project directory. Here you will see the CMake file which contains important configuration information about your project and how it runs. Here you can see the CMake minimum required, which is set to 3.17. Let's go ahead and change this to 2.8 and save with Control S. After that, we are prompted to either reload changes or enable auto reload. This must be done after each configuration change in the CMake list.txt. While we're here, let's go ahead and add a custom CMake flag. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in. You can find it in the description. Here you'll see the std equals C++11 command, which will enable support for C++11, which contains many valuable libraries and will be required for your project work. Let's go ahead and open our main file now. So in the bottom window here in the debug, you can see that the file is getting built to the strange temp folder in /temp./temp.vi, etc. This will not be the same in your case, as it is randomly generated. However, we're going to go ahead and change this temp folder from the random generated folder to a deployment path of our choosing. We can do that by going to the status bar, going to Tools, Deployment, and Configuration. Here we can see the ASU configuration we created in our toolchain, as well as the root path and the mappings. If we go to connection here, we're going to want to go ahead and change this root path by selecting the auto detect. Now you can see our ASU home folder automatically entered in the root path. And in the mappings, we can see the temp folder which is shown in the debug window. This mapping will essentially deploy all of the files from our project directory which we created to this deployment path, which is automatically generated. Let's go ahead and change this deployment path to one of our choosing. Let's go ahead and select the folder icon on the right and select Browse. Here we can see our ASU user folder. Yours likely looks different than mine, and as you can see, I have a few different projects I've been working on and different mapping setup. Let's create our own mapping by selecting New and Directory, and then we can enter in the name of our project, our first project, and hit OK. Now we can select the folder and then select OK once again. And we can leave this web path blank. Now it looks ready to go. Another thing you can do is you can right click it and you can duplicate it, and then we can call it ASU2, and then we can change our mapping here so we have different mappings for different projects. So we can set this up for this project, we can have this mapping, and then if we want to say change this to another directory, it'll conveniently upload all of your project files to the directory you set. And you can select which one you'd like to use by selecting the check mark. Use as default. Alright, I'm not going to be needing that, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove it for now. What this will do is this will upload all of the project contents to your deployment path on the server, which we will see in a second. So whenever you make a change here, it's going to upload to this deployment path, as long as you enable automatic upload, which we will do in a moment. And these two directories will be symbolically linked. Although the deployment path will contain everything in the local path, the local path may not necessarily contain everything in the deployment path. If you create new files in this folder, it'll stay on the deployment path, but if you create new files in the local path, they'll be uploaded to the deployment path. So keep that in mind. Now let's enable automatic upload by selecting OK and going to our status bar and going to Tools, Deployment, and selecting Automatic Upload. And then there we can select the ASU configuration. So what will happen now is if we go to the file transfer window, we can see the IDE both uploading all of the local project directory contents to the deployment path, as well as downloading some files from the server. And fortunately, if we look at the CMake, we see that the build files have been written to our deployment path in the CMake build debug directory. Great. So the next thing I'd like to point out is run configurations. So here in the CMake list, we can see a line that says add executable. This will add an executable named our first project, which will run main.cpp. So if you'd like to add additional executable files and you'd like to run them, you have to make sure to add an additional command here. So if we want to go ahead and run this main file and see this hello world, we can either select this run icon here and say run our first project, and you'll see it's deployed on the server and it ran. And we can also run it here in the top right, as well as go to the run and run it there. So this our first project corresponds to this run title here. So we could change it to something like this. We'll just make it main.cpp. We'll name it the same thing. And then once it'll save, it'll auto reload. And then if we go here, and then we should see in a moment this update to run main.cpp once the project is rebuilt. Alright, looks like it finished, and you can see here it is. So another really great thing you can do with CLine is you can create run configurations. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Run on the toolbar and Edit Configurations. And here you'll see the first default configuration which was made automatically when you created your project. So here is the target. This is the target added in the CMake's file command here. And there are some other options to this, such as program arguments and redirect input from. And this will allow you to redirect a text file into the stdin of a C++ executable. And these will come in handy with your projects. You can go ahead and create a configuration of your own by going Add New Configuration, selecting CMake Application, and you can name it whatever you like. This is handy if you'd like to create different run configurations for different files. So here, for example, I can give this one argument 1, and then I can give this one argument 2, and then hit OK, and then I can go here run on the status bar and then select the run ... and then this will allow me to select from my configurations and run or debug them. Cool. So now let's go ahead and create our first make file and also deploy on the server, which is done automatically, but I'll explain a little bit more about it. So if we go to Tools and Deployment and Browse Remote Hosts, we can go ahead and view the contents of our ASU home folder. This is just like SFTPing or FTPing into a remote server using an external tool like FileZilla, However, it makes it a lot easier as it's all built into this one environment. So here we can browse the contents of our home directory. We can see our first project file. So I'd love to illustrate now. If we go here on the left, we can go ahead and right click, new, and file. And we're just going to go ahead and make a file and name it makefile without any extension. And then it's going to go ahead and prompt us to install plugins, and this will add makefile support and basically format our makefiles when we're working on them. And we can go ahead and select OK to this privacy notice. Great. We can also see that this file has been automatically uploaded to our deployment path on the server, thanks to selecting automatic upload. But you can do it manually by right-clicking a file and scrolling down to deployment and upload to ASU. So we can also create files in this path as well by going ahead and right-clicking a directory, and we can do new and file. And let's go ahead and do it test.txt. And you'll see it'll go ahead and open up this text file for us to edit in the IDE. So I'm just going to go ahead and do test line here. I don't know, I'll do lorem ipsum. And then we can go ahead and right click this to upload it and make sure they are identical and essentially saved on the server. And you'll see, even though we created this file, it's not in our project directory. That's because it will not automatically download everything that's created on the server. But we can easily download it by right-clicking it and select download from here. And you'll see it in our local directory now. We can also download other files, such as this makefile I have in another project, or this in code.cpp. You can copy and paste it by right-clicking it, selecting copy, right-clicking it, and then pasting it in here. Oops. Or we can simply drag and drop it. And you'll see, as soon as we put it in here, it's going to automatically upload this. However, if we delete it, it will not automatically delete it off of the deployment path. So make sure to go ahead and delete it off here as well by right-clicking it and select delete. Okay, great. So that's this FTP client. It's really powerful. But there's one more thing we're going to need to do to be able to make a file. Let's go ahead and close this text file, and let's go ahead and start a remote session. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Tools on the status bar, Start SSH Session, and select my ASU credentials. And here you can see I'm automatically SSH'd in. This is the same as using another SSH client like PuTTY in Windows, or like the SSH command in Mac. This is really helpful because our credentials are already saved and our SSH client is built into the same window and environment where we program as well as FTP into the server. Let's go ahead and build our first project by creating our first makefile. I'm going to go ahead and type in the name of our make target. I'm going to make it firstExecutable, and then type in the name of the file we're going to be compiling, main.cpp. Now, on the next line, we need to make sure the first character is a tab. It cannot be the equivalent amount of spaces. So we're going to hit tab, and then type in the command that will be given to the machine to build the file. I'm going to type in G++, and then add the C++11 command, which will give you access to valuable libraries which you will be needing in your project work. Now we can give it the O flag, which will allow us to enter in the name of the file which will be created. And we're going to go ahead and call it firstExecutable. And then finally, we're going to type in the name of the file which is compiled. So this is gonna, when we run the make target first executable, it's gonna go ahead and execute this command in the machine, and it's gonna create an executable called firstExecutable. And it's gonna create a file with this name, and I'll show you that in a second. So this looks good. Now let's go ahead and try it out. Let's go to our SSH window, and we can run a command called ls to view all of the files in our home directory, which we can see are identical to all of the files here. Now we can enter our deployment directory by entering cd and typing in the name of our folder, our first project. While we're in the folder now, we can type in ls again, and we can see the contents of the folder and all of the files in our local project directory. Now all we need to do is type in the make command. And hopefully, if everything works right, we'll see that the g++ command is executed on the remote machine, creating our first executable file. Let's now go to the right here and select the refresh button. Now we can see the first executable file. All we need to run it, let's go down here to the SSH terminal, type in // oh, that's kind of in the way. Go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Now we're going to go and type in // and then type in the name of the executable. And great, we can go ahead and see the output of the program here. Looks good. And now we have the ID fully configured. That concludes my video. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope this is able to help as many people as possible. I know it's really detailed, so you might need to watch it a few times and pause at parts while you sort it out yourself, and continue on later. So feel free to reach out to me at my email if you have any issues. I'd love to help you all if you run into anything that's hindering your work. I wish you all the best of luck in your CC310 class, and wish you a great rest of your school year. Thanks again for watching my video, and don't forget to like and subscribe as always. Peace.